All right, so we're back at it. I've gone ahead and filled the oil back up. Did that earlier today. Also, in part 3, I had not drained the transmission yet, but I've gone ahead and drained the transmission and filled it up with 80-90 weight gear oil. So kind of show you some of the stuff I've ended up with from Deere. Here's my little parts pile aside from the filters I showed you the other day. Picked these up on a couple days ago now, I guess Friday. And so here's my O-ring for my sediment bowl on the fuel system. Here is the gasket for the fuel filters. So that whole assembly right there, the gasket that attaches it to the block, that's where it's leaking. You can see there, that wet right there. I went ahead and got, even though these little things are $22 a piece, I about passed out. I went ahead and got 2 because I'm notorious for tearing gaskets when I install stuff. So I went ahead and got 2, and if I end up not tearing one, fantastic. Here are the gaskets for the water pipe going to the head. I only could, so they're these gaskets right here. Get my, so they're for that right there, that joint right there. Deere no longer carries the gaskets for the back water pipe there, not the exhaust, the black pipe, but the green pipe behind it. Deere no longer carries those, so I will either have to make some or make do or whatever with that. So I can work on the water pump, and I'll tell you more about water pump in part 5. Here's the exhaust gasket. I went ahead and got 2 of these because I know I will eventually put a chrome stack on this thing, just because I like the looks. But in the meantime, I went ahead because oil was blowing everywhere because of the wet stacking of the engine. I went ahead and got one of these to put on now, and I'm not sure if these are usable or not. So I went ahead and got 2. They're decently cheap enough. I don't have to worry about it. And then also went ahead and got a water pump gasket. The water pump is definitely something that we'll need to replace sooner rather than later. So put all these in their bag over here so I don't lose them. Also, while I was at Deere, I picked up the power steering oil. So oil meets John Deere specifications JDT312 for use in power steering systems. The John Deere tractor manufactured prior to 1960, so this will be all the 2 cylinders prior to the new generation. Deere is the only place that sells this spec oil, and I guess that's why they still sell it, although it's $8 and something a quart, and I need 6 quarts, so I about passed out when I'm used to paying $4 a quart or less. So for the transmission, I got Harvest King 80-90 weight GL5. I don't know if this is right, but I figure it's not going to be in there very long, so that'll be perfectly fine. And then for oil, I really could not talk myself into buying the ultra cheap oil just because I couldn't. And so eventually this will get the Deere plus 30 or plus 52. But for right now, I just went ahead and put Rotella T 15W40 in it. Had really good luck with that in my trucks and stuff. So anyway, that's all the parts that I got. Took it out today for about 30-minute drive, a couple miles down the road and back. Actually worked pretty nice. I didn't blow nearly as much oil as it had previously. So certainly something a little bit better. So I'm happy with it. The engine oil pressure was nice and consistent. Yeah, I mean, it was a pleasure to drive. I mean, well, it always has been, the week I've had it now. Some of the things I need to do, I still need to change the power steering fluid, and I still need to change the hydraulic fluid, and I still need to change the rear PTO fluid. And I will also need to work on the radiator. I'll detail that in the next video. But hopefully when the manual gets here, I can go ahead and change the power steering fluid, and I will probably run this thing a couple more hours, and then I'll change the engine oil and the transmission gear lube again, strictly because that way I've gotten all the crud and crap out of it. I did, when I was changing the engine oil, I did stick my finger up in the drain hole, and I did not feel any sediment on the bottom of the crankcase, so that made me pretty excited. I cannot say the same about the transmission. So anyway, that's all the parts and everything that I ended up with. Project's coming along pretty nice. In part 5, I will tell you about the radiator, the PTO, and the pony motor.